Ja Morant is going to be out longer than a lot of people were hoping. And this latest update from Memphis has some big implications for the Grizzlies' present and their future. The team has officially announced that Morant will miss at least 2 more weeks as he continues to recover from that ulnar collateral ligament sprain in his left elbow, suffered back on January 21st. He's progressing, he's rehabbing, but he's still dealing with enough discomfort that the medical staff is not ready to clear him. The plan right now is simple on paper. He'll be reevaluated in another 2 weeks. But if you read between the lines, it raises a lot of questions about how this season looks for Memphis and what they're really trying to do. When you hear UCL sprain, most fans think of baseball pitchers and Tommy John surgery. But for a guard like Ja, that ligament is just as important. It stabilizes the elbow every time he shoots, passes, or absorbs contact at the rim. And Morant isn't a low-contact player. His entire game is built on attacking, exploding into the lane, taking hits in midair, and making creative, high-velocity passes. If that joint isn't right, you see it in everything. The way the ball comes off his hand, the confidence going left, the willingness to finish through traffic. The Grizzlies are trying to strike a balance. They're saying he's progressing, which is what you want to hear, but they're also clearly not going to rush him back just to push for a few extra wins in a tough Western Conference. Morant is only 26, still very much his prime window, and they know his elbow has to be right, not just usable. Missing another 2 weeks might not sound like much in isolation, but Morant has already been limited to just 20 games this season. That's barely a quarter of a full schedule. In those 20 appearances, though, you can see why the franchise still treats him like its crown jewel. He's averaging 19.5 points, 7.4 assists, and 4.6 rebounds per game. Those numbers are a little down from his peak scoring seasons, but when you factor in the stop-start nature of his year, the injuries around him, and all the changes in the roster, they still show how impactful he is. He remains the engine of this team's offense. When he plays, the pace changes, the spacing looks different, and role players get easier looks because of the attention he draws. That's part why this 2-week timeline matters so much. Reevaluation in 2 weeks doesn't always mean back in 2 weeks. It means doctors will check how the ligament is healing, how much pain he's in when he goes full speed, and then decide whether they're comfortable ramping him up. If there's any lingering instability, they could easily extend that absence. And with every extra week he sits, it becomes more and more obvious that Memphis has shifted from trying to salvage this season to thinking ahead. You can see that shift when you look at what happened at the trade deadline. Ja Morant's name came up over and over in rumors. Anytime a star-level guard is missing games and the team is struggling, people start whispering, is it time to blow up? Is the franchise really going to build around this guy long-term? But when it came time to make actual moves, the front office answered that question pretty clearly. They didn't move Morant. Instead, they did something much more dramatic. They traded 2-time All-Star Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz. That's a huge move in terms of identity. For years, Morant and Jackson were presented as the 2 pillars of Memphis, the backcourt superstar and a versatile big man who could protect the rim and stretch the floor. Sending Jackson to Utah while keeping Ja tells you the organization still sees Morant as the face of the franchise, the one player they're not ready to part with, even after all the injuries and frustration of this season. At the same time, losing Jackson changes the entire shape of this team. It puts even more pressure on Morant to be healthy, to be dominant, and to be available. You don't trade a 2-time All-Star big unless you're either fully committed to retooling around your primary star, or you're diving into a long rebuild. Memphis clearly isn't ready to hit the full reset button. They're betting that once Morant's elbow is healed and the rest of the pieces settle, they can pivot quickly back into contention. But that pivot just got a little harder with the second piece of injury news the team dropped. Guard Kentavious Caldwell Pope, one of the key veteran voices on this roster, is headed for surgery on his right pinky finger. The team says it's to correct a misalignment issue, and he's going under the knife Thursday. There's no exact timetable yet for his return. The Grizzlies have said they'll announce a recovery timeline after procedure, but surgery at this stage of the season is rarely a quick in, quick out kind of thing. Caldwell Pope is 33 now, and while he's not putting up all-star numbers, his role is more about stability and experience. In 51 games this year, He's averaged 8.4 points, 2.7 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. Those numbers won't jump off the page, but if you watch the games, you see where his value is. He hits timely threes, defends on perimeter, and knows how to play within a system without forcing shots. On a young team trying to adjust to constant lineup changes, having a veteran guard who can calm things down matters more than a box score might suggest. Losing him, even for a few weeks, strips away another layer of reliability. Suddenly, you're looking at more minutes for young guards and wings who may not be ready to handle heavy responsibility every night. That can be good in the long run. It accelerates development, but in the short term, it usually means more inconsistency. For a franchise that had playoff expectations not long ago, it underlines just how dramatically this season has flipped. If you're a Grizzlies fan, you're probably looking at all of this and trying to figure out what the actual plan is. On one hand, Morant is still your guy, the player you kept when you could have taken a different path. On the other, you moved a key all-star frontcourt partner, and now you're dealing with injuries to your lead guard and one of your trusted veterans. It feels chaotic, but there are a few things that stand out. First, it's clear that the team is not going to risk Morant's long-term health for a short-term push. A UCL sprain in his elbow is not the kind of thing you ignore. Shooting form, passing angles, absorbing contact, all of that relies on that ligament being strong and stable. If he comes back too soon and compensates with bad mechanics, you risk creating new problems in his shoulder, wrist, or even his lower body as he tries to land differently. Taking the cautious 2-week reevaluation route is a sign they're protecting their investment in him as a franchise cornerstone. Second, the Caldwell Pope surgery shows they're also not going to try to patch things together with half-healthy veterans. Fixing the pinky now, getting it properly aligned and healed, gives him a better chance to return at full strength either late this season or next. Pinky injuries might sound minor, but for shooters and ball handlers, that finger controls a lot of feel on the ball. If it's misaligned, your shot release changes, your handle feels off, and your defense, especially deflections and contests, can suffer. Third, that Jaren Jackson Jr. trade looms over everything. For the Grizzlies to move a player that caliber and age to the Utah Jazz means they've accepted that the group that once looked like Memphis basketball's version of Royal Core is no longer the future. The crown has officially shifted almost entirely to Morant's head. With Jackson gone, there's no longer a dual centerpiece structure. It's Ja at the center, with everyone else being evaluated on how well they fit around him. Morant's limited 20-game sample this season makes that evaluation tricky. You can't fully judge lineups, spacing, or player roles without your main ball handler on the floor consistently, but you can at least see flashes. Even in a disrupted season, his averages of 19.5 points and 7.4 assists show he can still bend defenses and create opportunities. The question is whether his body, and particularly that left elbow, will allow him to do that over 60, 70, 75 games in future seasons, not just in short bursts. What we're really watching now is a transition year that turned into something even messier than expected. At the beginning of the season, Memphis likely hoped they could ride out some bumps, maybe sneak into the playoffs, and regroup in the summer. Instead, injuries, trades, and setbacks have pulled them toward reset. For Ja Morant, this is a critical moment in how he's perceived around the league. The talent isn't in question. When he's healthy and locked in, he's one of the most exciting guards in the game, a guy who can turn a random Tuesday matchup into must-see TV. But availability is part of stardom. You have to be on the court night after night for your team to build around you with confidence. This elbow issue and how carefully he and the team handle it will say a lot about the next phase of his career. For Kentavious Caldwell Pope, the surgery is about extending his career and keeping him effective as that steady veteran presence. At 33, he's closer to the end than the beginning, but guards with his skill set can play meaningful minutes for a long time if they stay healthy. Fixing the pinky properly now is about ensuring he can still do what he's paid to do. Hit open shots, defend, and bring professionalism to the locker room. For the Memphis Grizzlies organization as a whole, this stretch is about patience and clarity. They've already made one huge decision by trading Jaren Jackson Jr. to Utah. They've doubled down on Morant as their central piece by not moving him despite trade chatter. Now they need to use this injury-ridden season to identify which young players and veterans can realistically be part of the next strong Memphis team, and which ones are just temporary. The immediate future is straightforward but not easy. They'll play the next couple of weeks without their star guard and without KCP after his surgery. Morant will continue rehabbing that UCL sprain, working to get the elbow stable and pain-free. The medical team will run him through strength tests, shooting sessions, contact drills, and then the front office coaching staff, and Ja himself will sit down as that reevaluation date arrives and decide if it makes sense for him to come back this season. And if so, in what capacity? If he returns and looks like himself, it gives Memphis confidence heading into the offseason, knowing the main piece is still elite. If there's any lingering discomfort or limitations, it will force some tough conversations about timelines and expectations. Either way, the message from the Grizzlies right now is clear. They're thinking beyond just the next game. They're treating Morant like a long-term franchise pillar, protecting his health. They're cleaning up Caldwell Pope's finger so he can be fully effective again. They're reshaping the roster after the Jackson trade. It's not a pretty season on paper, but sometimes you have to go through one of these transitional years if you want to build something real on the other side. Let me know how you see it. Do you think Memphis is right to be this cautious with Ja Morant's elbow, even if it means potentially punting on what's left of the season? What did you make of the decision to keep him at the trade deadline, but move Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz instead? And how big of a loss is Kentavious Caldwell Pope while he recovers from his pinky surgery? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to keep up with every twist in the Ja Morant injury saga, Memphis Grizzlies roster moves, and the latest updates on Caldwell Pope's recovery, make sure you stay tuned. There's a lot still to unfold around this team before we even get to the offseason.